Hey guys, Josh here. So, Mass Effect Legendary Edition releases this Friday. It's so close. And with it out soon, I thought I would go over, the many reasons to me why Mass Effect is so special. You got the characters, the story, the music. There's so many different aspects that make it so special for me. So I thought I'd go through them all. So here we go. So for the setting, you've got a vast galaxy full of different species. You've got the relations between them, a sense of history to them. And despite all the lasers and light speed ships, it's somewhat grounded in our world. You've got Earth there, you've got the solar system. There's like a background to us finding a mass relay in our system entombed in ice around Pluto. And then us going out into the stars. It gives a sense of sort of wonder and what may be possible because it is so close to what we actually know, and that's why the setting is just really cool and just sort of wonderful and imagining what can happen. For me, what truly makes the Mass Effect trilogy is the characters. Over the 3 games you meet a whole variety of characters from different species, races and backgrounds. And as you spend time with these, you get to learn their customs, traditions, cultures. You basically learn about sort of the other species of the game through these sort of characters you meet. In particular, the squad mates that join you on the Normandy over the trilogy, they're all unique and they sort of develop over time. For example, you get Tali, who, when you first meet her, she's just a young Quarian. She's on a pilgrimage. She's never really been out of the flotilla before. And now, and later on, she's an admiral in charge of all fleets, retaking a home planet, that. Then you have, for example, Fane, who's been an assassin for years, who, through your efforts, basically gets to sort of redeem himself, and he reconnects with his son. And, it's a nice development for that. And all these developments, make the characters believable, and they sort of help cement a sort of sense of family. You see these characters change over time. Many of the experiences they go through which change them, you're with them for, and you see what shapes them sort of alongside them. Now, I couldn't talk about characters without talking about villains. Villains are a big part of the series. At the start you have Saren, who's a mysterious, who, at first you think he's just a traitor, and you don't really know why he's done it. Over time you learn with the Reapers and their cycle of extinction. The sort of Lovecraftian horror they are, sort of unknown from space. And then you have Sovereign in the first game, who is like the symbol of that. His quote, "You exist because we allow it, you end because we demand it." It's so, just the immense power and superiority they feel they have over life makes them sort of really terrifying to think they have that kind of opinion of us. They don't have any remorse or anything. They think they truly control everything. Later we'd have Harbinger, the first Reaper and their leader. He's not quite as got the impact as Sovereign did for me, but he's still quite an intimidating force and sort of representation of the threat of the Reapers. Another key character is the Elusive Man, of course. He's quite a dark figure with sort of questionable beliefs early on, and you have to work with him, whether you believe or not in what he believes. But as that goes on, then he obviously gets indoctrinated, highlighting sort of probably what is probably the most devastating weapon of the Reapers is the ability to turn us against each other. And you see that in the Elusive Man. Then you have the story. Now, there's a lot to talk about the story, and I could go on forever about the story. It could have been its own video. But, complementing the amazing cast of characters, you've got a story of mystery, action, love, heartbreak, comedy, so many things. It's such an amazing story with so many aspects to it. The way the galaxy is slowly introduced to us, we're sort of thrown in. Humanity are quite new. We learn of the different species, and we go around the Citadel, which is like the seat of government, and then we go to different planets throughout the trilogy, and we see the ways of life of everyone as the story develops. The pacing always gives you the time to sort of take in what's happening. You're never rushed. When you talk to people, you can ask them a lot. Most people you can question them about things and learn even background trivial stuff just to add to a sense of world building, which is really good. You're never rushed You're taking your time. The way you sort of slowly learn about the Reapers through background conversations, and then obviously that ultimately builds to when you see Vigil on Ilos, and you get to pretty much question him quite clearly what the Reapers are, what they do, the sort of cycle, and how they use the Citadel and the Keepers to sort of jump into the galaxy and devastate, how the mass relays were built by them. Everything's controlled by them to sort of guide life down a set path, and then come back and harvest them every 50,000 years. And that's been going for millions of years. The scale of that is crazy and awe-inspiring, and that's what I really like about the series, is that sense of just unimaginable passage of time that this has been happening for. It's crazy. Mass Effect 2, you have the collectors which show up, and you have the suicide mission to stop them. It's a nice middle act that somewhat you can take out, really, but it still has a good role. You have the loyalty missions, which is mainly about building your rapport with your crew, and just building on the universe. You go to various other places and you get to see it's a lot of world building in the second one, and then putting together this team to try and stop the collectors in the suicide mission is really well done. And then finally we have Mass Effect 3, very splitting and a very sore area for many people. It's overshadowed definitely by its disappointing ending, which is disappointing. There's no doubt about that. Whatever your opinion is on it, it was at the time a disappointing ending. But up until that point, Mass Effect 3 is probably the best in my opinion. You have the initial escape from Earth when the Reapers are invading, and a sort of desperate scramble to get away, and then try and gather your forces and try and work out how the hell you might try and stop them. You go and you investigate possible plans for this crucible, mysterious thing, you don't know what it is, and building your alliances. You potentially end the Genophage and help the Krogans, you then help the Quarians and the Geth potentially and get them to have peace. You see Fessia, the home planet of the Asari, fall. You see whole races that have been through the entire trilogy, their homeworld's devastated and it all comes crashing down. There's such big moments, and interspersed with that you have a lot of downtime with your crew, which is really nice, and potentially Garrus and Tali can be found having a moment together. That builds on stuff in previous games, if you don't romance Tali or Garrus, of course. And all this, more so if you have the Citadel DLC, really adds to that sort of nice end kind of feel to things, their nice send-off sense. The final act of the game, you see all the ships coming in the final battle against the Reapers in space, directly against the Reapers. That's when you see your work come together, which is really cool. But then, of course, you have the disappointingness of the ending. It was disappointing. It was rushed. It kind of didn't make sense. The logic is flawed of the Catalyst or the Reapers. What their purpose was is somewhat flawed. Bit stupid what they wanted to do. But it's, especially if you have the extended cut, it tries to explain it. If you have played the Leviathan DLC, obviously you got the background of what the Reapers actually are there as well, which was a bit of a weird decision to have as DLC. But regardless, you can make something of the ending, and I try and see the positive whenever I do a playthrough of it, which is why 9 times out of 10 I do Control. It's the ending. In Control, Shepard gets to control the Reapers. You can rebuild all the relays and the Citadel and everything. Nothing's left destroyed. You don't have people left behind after the battle. Things can pretty much go back to how they were and improved when you have the Reapers protecting them, not trying to wipe them out. No matter what your opinion is on the ending, the journey to get there is really what matters, even in the third one. And most of the third one is brilliant. You get the sense of an unknown wonders of space, a galactic community, your sort of family, crew on the ship, and this ever approaching threat of absolute devastation is why I kept coming back, again and again for several playthroughs. In terms of gameplay, the gameplay in Mass Effect 1 is, it's rough, I won't lie. it was very clunky and random at times. I mean, I still to this day don't understand the sprinting in that game, but you know, despite that, it was an RPG. You had the freedom to go to lots of planets, and you had lots of weapons and armour. And although that was lost over time as we evolved into Mass Effect 2, I think it was still an improvement. You know, we lost the sort of RPG-ness a bit for a more arcadiness to it, but the combat got way better, faster and smoother in the second one. Guns had more impact, projectiles, bullets hitting people, you know, powers. You had your biotics slamming people around and people igniting on fire and explosions and stuff. You know, it was a much more visceral experience. And armour, you know, in the second one you had much more customization for colours and look. You kind of controlled what you looked like, and it was more dictating what you looked like, not what the armour did, which was good. Yes, the planets with a bit more freedom had gone, but they were pretty barren anyway. You know, it was all improvements, maybe taken away from the RPG-ness, but generally improvements, which they then refined in 3. Mass Effect 3 was probably the best iteration of combat. You know, you could roll, you could move between cover quicker, the guns felt really good and sounded their best in my opinion. You know, the powers were really cool, the impact from them and combos. You know, you set people on fire and then hit them with a biotic and it would just fucking make them explode, and it was really cool to see that, you know, involvement, and the combat in 3 was definitely the best. Building on that, going into sound, you know, talking about the explosion sounds of the combos detonating and biotics, that was really good. But also, you know, apart from combat and gun sounds and stuff, you have, you know, so many iconic sounds from the series. You know, you've got mass relays, the sound of them firing, Reapers, you know, the weird noises that Reapers made, right down to the little beeps of menus in game and terminals and stuff you interacted with, all sort of built the, you know, the universe. And alongside that, you have an amazing soundtrack, and there's so many tracks to go through. I love so many tracks in the series, but probably, you know, the ones that stand out for me, you got the Presidium theme in Mass Effect 1 when you're first walking around the Citadel freely, and it's just so alien seeing that. Moving on, you've got sort of the futuristic techno music of sort of on, you know, the club in Omega and that sort of underworld side of things, and then you got the traditional sort of orchestral epic music, for example the Suicide Mission in Mass Effect 2. You know, these tracks perfectly suit their place in the games, whether it's just for background building music while you're exploring, you know, whether it's epic music, you know, adrenaline pumping during climatic scenes, or whether, you know, it's a bit more of a low-key, you know, emotional piece during heart-to-heart moments with your crew. Overall, you know, at its heart, what makes Mass Effect so special to me is the combination of a powerful story driven by amazing, believable characters. You know, a story of investigation and the horror of creatures from the unknown, a sense of a journey you've undertaken with others to stop them, you know, and build rapport with your crew and get to learn them over time to try and stop the threat of the Reapers. All this, you know, backed by really smooth gameplay in the later games, you know, a soundtrack which just helps to solidify the various moments and the experiences while you play the game. So, as I said, the Legendary Edition of the trilogy comes out this Friday. I'm going to be doing a playthrough of the remastered Mass Effect 1 on the channel in full. I'm not necessarily going to do the other two because I have played them through on my older channel before. I did Old Trilogy, but I do definitely want to cover the first game and have a look through that and play that on the channel. I'm really excited for that, to see how exactly that's changed. It looks to be really nice with the combat changes and the graphical improvements and stuff like that. I'm really looking forward to that, and to replay through it at 60 FPS, 4K goodness is going to be really nice. So I'll be playing that through beginning this Friday. I'm probably going to do a couple of parts of that on Friday, you know, for the initial launch day, and then go back to sort of daily videos of that. But yeah, if you enjoyed this look through the trilogy, please leave a like and subscribe for more and to see my playthrough when it begins, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.